6, 2021. It's my pleasure to introduce our president, Diva Alfaro.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. Like Raymond said, my name is Diva Alfaro, and thank you for joining us. Well, I'd like to go ahead and pass it on to Steve Scott to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you, Diva. Good afternoon, everyone. Please join me in honoring the flag of our country. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Steve. I'd like to pass it on to Casey for invocation.
Let's invocate and pray. Almighty God, my best understanding is that you are timeless. You are outside of the constraints of this world. And so, Lord, in doing so, your timing is always perfect. So we put our trust, our hope, our very desires and our wishes that we would have an insight, a wisdom, and an understanding that we would move, act, speak, and be in perfect timing as we serve and bring hope to the world. Thank you for the privilege and opportunity it is to carve this time to declare that the Rotary is here to make a difference. We thank you, we praise you, and we seek your will. Amen.
Thank you. So that was beautiful. So I'd like to go ahead and start off with introductions. Again, my name is Diva Alfaro. I am the president of the San Dimas Rotary. I've been a Rotarian for about a little over 3 years. I grew up in the city of San Dimas, and I am a licensed loan officer. I'll go ahead and pass it on to Steve.
Thanks again, Diva. Hello once again. My name is Steve Scott. I am the current treasurer of the club, a past president. I've been a member now for about 11 years, and I am a State Farm agent in San Dimas.
Thank you, Steve. Raymond?
Hey, I'm Raymond Foster. I'm past president and president-elect. What do we got, about 4 weeks here going on, Diva? We're getting close. Mm-hmm. Current public image chair, so I am the face of Rotary.
Thank you, Raymond. Marianne?
I am Marianne Kistler. I have been in Rotary over 25 years. I am the current foundation chair. I am a past president.
Thank you, Marianne. Casey?
I am not the face of Rotary, but I'm here to smile with you. A past president, very active in our community, doing leadership development, community mobilization, and bringing some health to everybody I touch. So glad you're here, glad to be a catalyst for what we're about to do.
Thank you, Casey. Derek?
Hello, everyone. My name is Derek Bafanou. It's great to be here. Proud Rotarian, teacher, and yeah, it's just great to see everyone.
Thank you, Derek. And let me go ahead, before I introduce our speaker, I know we have some guests on here as well. Isabel?
Hi, everybody. My name is Isabel Ebiner. I am a San Dimas resident. I lived here since 2016. I'm here today to present about the San Dimas Community Post. I'm the managing editor, and I'll be doing the 5-minute fast craft talk. So hopefully I can talk fast enough for you guys.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure having you here with us today. So let's see, I didn't miss anybody. We'll go ahead and I have the great pleasure of introducing our speakers. Guy Courtney. So today we will hear from 2 people, I believe, that are immersed in the job of restoring the world's coral reef environment. Guy Courtney spent 25 years in the business field, is a private pilot, testified before Congress on multiple occasions, operating his own cattle ranch in New Mexico, while also operating the 2nd largest green and red chili professor in New Mexico. I'm sorry. He has been frequently quoted in many national business publications. His dog Yale also led his team on hundreds of dog sled journeys through the Rocky Mountains and in and around Aspen. And Anita, which is also going to be one of our speakers, which is Guy's wife, also took a few biology courses and is now immersed in development in the coral reef world. She spent 17 years in Alaska. Her business background is extensive and puts Guy to shame. I had to read that.
Thanks a lot.
They met one another after an article appeared about Guy's coral reef work and fell in love. So today we're going to hear what they're doing in restoring the coral reef environment around the world, and are reminded that their immersion in subject shows all of us what, if we dream it, we should begin it. So I'll go ahead and allow you to.
Who wrote that?
It must have been me. It must have been me. Hey, before we start, I wanted to thank Casey for his prayer. That was great, Casey. I appreciate that very much. It's fun coming to you from the opposite coast. We're covering the span of the country with these machines of ours that connect us so conveniently, and it's really nice to be with all of you. Appreciate it so much. We're on one ocean, you're on the other, but the topic is the ocean. And I need to ask somebody at some time if you'll fill me in on that short seahorse presentation, which may just be my favorite animal in the ocean. Fascinating creatures, and that was wonderful. I'm not sure what that's all about, but I certainly want to learn more. We are going to learn a lot today, and I'm sort of taking the gloomy side of a story, and Anita will pick up, as she always does, with the hopeful, happy, wonderful side that she's so good at presenting and doing. In other words, she won't do this part, so that's just the way it goes, and I get stuck with it. The Sanacora is sort of a strange word, but that's the name of our profit side business, and there's a not-for-profit business called Mission Ocean Reef, which is the scientific side of the coral restoration work that we do. And Sanacora is a Latin term that means healing coral. And hang on one second.
Get the screen share going.
They are speakers.
We are screen sharing. Okay. Does everybody see the coral?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay, we're good.
Okay, great. So we'll talk about a lot of different things, but Sanacora means healing coral. It's Hawaiian and Latin, and a weird combination of two words that we just happened to like when we started on this project, and off we go. So we'll cover a lot of different things, from what's happening currently on Earth to the ocean reef environment, why it's important to us, why there is hope, what we're doing in that realm of hope, and how you can get involved with it if you are so inclined. The underwater world is certainly magnificent, and it's something that we all experience it generally at some form or another, either standing on a beach and looking out over it, getting on a boat, going fishing or traveling or something, but very few people get involved underneath the water and see this incredible, mysterious place. We look up in the skies and we see the stars and the moon and the sun and all these wonderful astrological features, and it's amazing, but we can't see underwater as easily, so it takes a little effort to do that. You know, we've stood there and we've looked, and maybe we've watched in days gone by the undersea world of Jacques Cousteau, which was me as a kid getting immersed in the subject and enjoying it completely. And it's interesting that we don't spend a lot of time with the ocean, because it's 137 million square miles of the Earth. To put that in comparison, the US is about a little less than 4 million square miles. So it's a big place, and we've always known that. We learned in grade school that it's 70% of the surface of the world. And then you refine that geography a little bit further in that territory, and the coral reef environment is less than 1% of the ocean environment. So it's this really tiny piece of the ocean, and we'll go into that a little bit as well. So we get in the ocean doing a number of different things, and we can all get in the ocean. We can dive in the ocean, scuba dive. We can snorkel, we can free dive, we can do something called snuba. We'll talk about that. And it's an entire world that is unique and available to all of us, just not easily accessible. So there's a short film here by an individual, Dr. Joni Klapis, who is the reason that I'm involved in this. I was living in Colorado at the time, and she spoke, and she really switched all the switches for me in getting involved in doing this. And that's a long, long story of my involvement. I was a biology major in school, but then life goes on, and became in the investment banking business, I should say, and spent 25 years doing that. And I've now come full circle from those early school days to today, having retired and getting back to this love of mine, the oceans. And I'll let Joni tell you a little bit about what's going on in the oceans today.
Guy, unfortunately, we're not getting the sound on that.
Yeah, I was going to say that right.
Okay, we are going to fix that. Thank you for piping up. Appreciate that. You never know if we've got something that's going to connect or not going to connect, and we do this frequently. My technical assistant is working feverishly.
It's his wife.
You got, sweetie?
Nope, still no voice.
They make carbon.
I'm having some issues with the sound. We still can't, well, I can't hear it. I'm not sure if anybody else can.
Oh, you guys, I'm so sorry. We're working on it, though. If you can give us just another.
Hey, Guy, when you share screen, there's a little button in the lower left-hand corner that says share video sound along with it. So if you back out of sharing your screen and then go back into share screen, look from the lower left-hand corner. There's usually a button there that says share video audio.
Okay, checking now.
I'm going to unmute. If you mute, we'll be fine, I think.
Yeah, I'm muted.
Unless you live by an ocean, it is hard to visualize what it's like. If you go underwater, it's totally another world. It's almost like being an astronaut. One of the things I work on is similar to climate change, but it's called ocean acidification. When you add CO2 to the atmosphere, more of it will move to the surface ocean. It's exactly the way they make carbonated drinks. If you take a bottle and you put water in it, and you increase the amount of carbon dioxide in that bottle and then cap it, it moves into the water or the liquid that's in that bottle. We call it acidification because the pH is going down. My main focus is the impacts of this lowering of the pH, particularly on corals and coral reefs. Coral is an animal made out of calcium carbonate. It looks like a tree or a rock. If you just drop a little drop of acid on any of those, you'll watch them bubble away and dissolve. It's not that dramatic in the ocean, but it's just slowly becoming more difficult for these organisms to secrete their shells. Another problem that coral reefs are experiencing is something called coral bleaching. Small algae live right in their tissues. Corals get energy from the sun that way. If the coral gets stressed, it kicks those algae out. Warming in the oceans is causing these corals to become more and more stressed, weaker, or dying. It turns from a beautiful color to white because the algae give the coral its color, and you can see the skeleton underneath. Why would we care? There are estimates that 1/3 of all the world's fish species use a coral reef at some time or another. They provide food for millions, if not billions of people. They have a lot of cures for diseases. These are nature's masterpiece. I know that a lot of the stuff sounds really doomsday. It sounds like I don't know what I can do to stop this. I think it's really important to look at what works. Something called reef restoration, building coral nurseries, underwater gardening with corals. They'll come in and they'll grow these corals in underwater nurseries and then glue them right back on the reef. We need to start doing that more and more. There's a lot of young people out there with a lot of great minds and a lot of motivation, and we can really find some solutions to this problem.
Okay, well, we could finally hear it. So that's a good thing, of course. So thanks for bearing with us a little bit, you guys. Joni Klapis is, interestingly, landlocked in Fort Collins, Colorado, but spends most of her time in the oceans of the world working for the National Center of Atmospheric Research, and is a wonderful resource for us. And she's the one who fanned the flames of my interest in the oceans and the coral reef system. So you heard that, you know, water temperature and acidification are the things that are killing the coral reef environment, and it's important. It's a global issue. You all know, we all learned in the 2nd, 3rd, or 4th grade that 70% of the Earth is, you know, covered by water. But most of us don't know that every other breath that you take, that is courtesy of the oceans. The Great Barrier Reef, you've all heard of it. You all have learned something about it. And, you know, the facts are pretty simple. 1,600 miles of coral and 50% is dead. And when you spout off statistics like that, it is pretty innocuous, but it's really hard to envision. So think about traveling from Green Bay, Wisconsin, sort of the tip of Wisconsin, to Miami, Florida, and picture that in your mind's eye. And that's 1,600 miles. So it's a long way. And then you expand the road of travel by about 30 miles on either side. And that generally is the size of the Great Barrier Reef. And half of that is gone. That's Chicago to Atlanta is dead and gone, no life existing in the coral world. And it's not just the Great Barrier Reef, but we talk about that because it is the biggest and the largest and the one that is most known. But it's really across the globe. It's a complete worldwide impact. The reef system in our world, generally speaking, not always, but generally, is about 300 miles on either side of the equator. And there are many exceptions to that, but generally that's true. And there's 95% of the Florida reef tract is dead, and that runs sort of all the way down and a little around the Keys. And that number, 95%, is actually 99% gone now. Dead, gone, forget about it. And fish life goes away with that. 69% of reefs in the Indian Ocean are bleached. And bleaching is just a wonderful term instead of saying death, destruction, or dead, I suppose. But bleaching means that you have dead coral. And you've probably been to a shop somewhere where you see pieces of coral that are for sale, and that's dead coral. That's just the skeleton of the coral. 50% of the reefs in the Seychelles Islands off the coast of Africa are dead. And it continues like that around the world. And there's a Caribbean island called Ilavash, and it's unique for a number of reasons. Some of you may have heard of it. Most people have not, but it's very important to us for a number of reasons, but I need to mention that it's where Anita and I were married. And so it holds a special place in our heart. And even at this tiny Caribbean island of Ilavash, it's they have one of the rarest forms of coral called black coral. And even the black coral, which grows at significantly deeper depths than most all the other coral species, has also been decimated, and it's gone. And Ilavash is a great example of what's happening around the world, because the people there are largely dependent on the ocean for food, fish for food. And it's true the world over. There's 1 billion people, 1 billion, again, a big number, hard to fathom, but it's huge. And if you compare 1 billion to the population in this country, you understand its significance. We have roughly 327 million. So 3 times that many people, 1 billion people, depend totally on fish for food, and fish come from the reef environment. They can't, today at Ilavash and across the globe, you can barely fill their nets. I was there not long ago, and they pull in a net, and the nets are so big that the catch just sneaks right through because the fish are so small, and they just wiggle out of the nets, and the catch is very, very diminished from what it has been. But we're replanting the coral, and that's the purpose of what Sanacora does. And we need everybody's help in doing that. We need others to participate in doing it. And it's a worldwide effort, truly. And it's not just a casual weekend warrior kind of thing. So it affects all of us. In this this next picture, it's an interesting image, the side-by-side image of the same place, but taken a little bit apart in time from each other. And it's hard to understand, but this type of coral on the left that you see there is very healthy staghorn coral. And staghorn and elkhorn coral are 2 of the most plentiful corals all over the globe, and they grow everywhere. And then on the left, living vibrantly, of course, and on the right, it's bleached or it's dead. And what's really unusually sad about this is the length of time that was between these 2 pictures being taken. And the length of time between those 2 pictures is just 4 months. In 4 months' time, bleaching took place, and it takes place very quickly and quietly, and it's deadly to the coral. And remember that coral is a life form. It's not a plant. Of course, a plant is a life form too, I should say. It's an animal. Not the kind that we cuddle up with like a puppy, but an animal nonetheless. And the rise in the temperature of ocean water combined with pH levels dropping is the primary cause of coral destruction. So if you and I experience a day outside and the temperature changes by 1, 1.5, or 2 degrees, you likely don't notice. Doesn't mean you put on a coat, doesn't mean that you take off a coat. It's just a 2-degree temperature change. But that same temperature change is deadly to coral. It's an extremely sensitive organism, and 2 degrees kills it outright. So that dead coral on the right in this picture, it won't repopulate. It is, it's gone forever. And this is, as I said, out in Raja Ampat, West Papua, Indonesia. Moving on, so there's good living coral, there's dead coral. The number of people, as you can see, that rely on the ocean for food is significant. The ocean life itself, 40% at some time in their lifespan depends on coral reefs, and 25 to 30% of all ocean life lives at the reef environment. And it's not just about the fish, it's about us. It's 60% of cancer drug research today focuses on coral marine life, and it's truly significant. Don't ask me to name the medicines because I can't. I came out of the investment banking business, and this just was one of those things that struck me as terribly important to the entire population of the planet, and that's why we're after it. And more facts and figures: the food impact: 45 tons of fish per square mile in a healthy reef environment. The reefs in the Florida Keys provided, in 2 years ago, $3 billion annually in tourism because of the reefs, and that's fishing and diving revenue. And the protection factor, and this is true of every reef everywhere, protecting the land is estimated at $9 billion. It protects in terms of damage from tropical storms, and that was also a couple of years ago. But this story, the Sanacora story, is interesting. And as I mentioned briefly earlier, I was one of those kids who watched the undersea world of Jacques Cousteau, and hence his picture here. And I'm not a scientist, and I'm not a marine biologist. I'm just a retired businessman with a passion that started in the 5th grade. And if you watch this show, you might have enjoyed seeing it over the weekend times. I think it was on a Sunday or so. And it's a looking glass into a world that's unknown to us. We had not seen this before, and it is absolutely spectacular. And sometimes I watch an episode of Jacques Cousteau's on YouTube, and I compare the underwater images from then to those of today, and it is painfully obvious that a very significant problem exists. And the fun thing about all of this is that, yeah, it's a problem. It's a big problem, and it needs attention. But there's some really good news coming up, and I'm going to let Anita take it from here and share that news with you.
You're muted, Anita.
Okay, hang on one second. She's coming back over here. We have found when both of our computers are in the same place at the same time, there's a really annoying reverberation that exists between the two. We have yet to figure that out. I'm, living in the water. These sound things don't affect me that much until we give a presentation like this, and then it's a little off the hook. Do you want to use my computer?
It's not letting me unmute. That's not, is that weird?
Oh, you want to just go to here?
Yeah, but they can't see the slides. You'd have to, yeah.
Okay.
So here, you go there.
Okay.
Okay.
Excuse us, you guys.
You're that fun. Okay, so I was going outside for a little bit. We live on our boat, and we have to come here to a area that we can actually present. And it's kind of funny because today we had so many people in our boat working on it that we had to come to this this conference room. So we're juggling, but I get the fun part of the presentation, everyone, because the transition to hope is what hit me. So I'm a diver. I've been a diver and a dive instructor for many, many years. And what happened was I recognized I was teaching in the Florida Keys for about 3 years, living there, and I saw the bleaching happen that Guy was just talking about. And it broke my heart. If you're a diver, and I don't know, are there many people on the call today that are divers? Or we have anybody? Okay, so you get it. It's really an amazing feeling when you actually witness it dying. It's like I say, coming from the Midwest, I used to take a lot of trails like down the forest preserves and take bike rides and runs, and it's like explaining to people, because we do a lot of high school presentations to various different kids, and I explain it as like going for a walk and slowly seeing all the trees dying and slowly seeing all of the flowers just disappearing. It's that feeling that I had, and it was very sad. So the presentation I'm going to talk about now, this piece is really what are we doing about it. So now we know the situation. And one of the things I always like to say is really important is even if you don't want to come to work with us on an island to actually do any coral restoration, there's a really important movement, I believe, that is really key to this whole coral reef restoration. 3 buckets of people are typical when we are presenting. The first bucket is what I call the no clue bucket. People do not know that, you know, things like this are happening in the ocean, and it's not their fault. They just don't get any experience to it. The second bucket are the people who they know, but they don't know there's any way to improve it. That's where I was at. And then the third bucket are people that, oh my gosh, there is a cure. We can do something. What can I do to help? So it's a movement that we are starting to get the message out to high schools through Rotary. We're pretty excited about this relationship with Rotary to get the message out. Even if you don't want to go and actually do coral restoration, it's understanding what you can do every day in your life, in your world, to make sure that we're caring for the ocean. So what do? So Sanacora, we have a 4-step process. So if you were to come out to the island, let's say, we are putting tanks on the land that actually start to grow this coral. So it's a 4-step process. First, we do it in these tanks on land, and the key about this is that we take specimens from the area. So Guy was talking about Ilabash. We would be taking specimens that are healthy. I call them super coral. It's not, that is not the scientific term, but I like to call them that. I say, you know, these are the coral that are surviving the water temperatures and the acidity. So they're hardy species. You take pieces of that, and I'm going to show you in a minute what it's called, but it's called MICROFRAGMENTATION, and it's like little slices that are taken of those, and they are put into these tanks. And so we grow them first on the nursery on the land. Then we transfer them to underwater nurseries, which are simply maybe in 20 feet of water, and it's PVC pipe like Christmas trees, and you hang the coral from these trees, and then, you know, 4 to 6 months for each of those pieces of the process. Then you actually take it like it was on the Joni Claypus video. You actually take that new growth and you can either glue it on, depending on the species, or some species need to be like a drilled on and nailed on, depending on, you know, how they're going to secure. And then the 4th step, monitoring. Okay. So, and we're actually going to have cameras that are going to be put into the ocean where the new growth has been placed, that our wonderful doctor, Dr. David Vaughn, who is the man who actually invented and came up with the eureka moment, is what he calls it, the process by which to grow these coral faster. So he will be monitoring all the coral reefs that are being planted in Ilabash or Barbuda or wherever these areas are that we will be doing this work. So here's an example of what it looks like. This is the microfragmentation that Dr. Vaughn has created. He calls these little pieces of like pepperoni pizza, you know, the little pepperonis on a pizza. And this takes about in a tank 4 to 6 months for it to mature to then move to the next stage. So that is the process, the scientific process that we will be taking. And the cool thing too is that we have the ability to take this and train the local people there on the islands who also need work. We're helping them understand how to improve their environment, improve how they're, you know, doing the fishing as far as overfishing and really hurting the coral as they're going out with their boats and throwing the anchors on top of the coral. So it's really an education process for them but also work for them so that they can learn how to do this process, because they'll need to continue to do it for a while. So what does Sanacora offer in addition to this great opportunity to grow coral? Well, fun. This is the relaxing point. So we have a student boat that will be for mainly high school students, and then the luxury boat for more the adults who want to go out, have a good time, do something good. It will be a percentage of that trip is a tax write-off as well, which is exciting for some. But we want to make it a fun experience for whatever age you are. So one of them is going to be for the adult people, and then we have the diving in for the students. And Guy started this, gosh, what, a year and a half ago. He was doing presentations before COVID. He was doing presentations in the high schools, and high school kids don't talk a lot, you know, and we've been doing them on Zoom as well. But he would be getting these wonderful letters from these young students after the presentation. It just emails and saying how they want to get involved and they want to, you know, they want to be able to participate in some way. So we have probably a couple of thousand students already in our database that are interested. They want to make presentations at their schools. It's been just a delight to see these young people jumping in and diving in to get started to help us. Additionally, I don't know if there's any sailors on the phone, but we also are aware that there are a lot of sailors out there worldwide who would love to be involved in this type of activity. So we are going to be providing a way that sailors can come to the island that we're working on, and we can also train sailors. And again, the more the merrier. We want to extend this out to as many people that want to get involved. It is not rocket science. It's kind of interesting. It's really about underwater gardening. So we're just setting it up to allow a lot of people to be able to do it, have fun doing it, and have a vacation at the same time. So that is that's the environment that we're creating.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the presentation.
Okay.
Diva, I think we're going to have to move right along into Isabel.
Yes, we'll go ahead and do that. So we'll save hopefully questions to the end. Now let's go ahead and have Isabel for our Fast Craft Talk.
Hi, can you hear me, everybody? Is that yes?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Well, I thank you so much to the Rotary for letting me speak today, and to Guy and Anita for your presentation. I very much am interested to learn about the coral reefs and all of that. I'm here to talk about something totally different. Guy and Anita did this very global, presentation. I'm here to talk about a local initiative here in San Dimas, the San Dimas Community Post. Oh, I forgot to change the date on my presentation. Sorry about that. As I said, my name is Isabel. I am the managing editor and one of the founders for this local newspaper, and we're trying to make a difference here in San Dimas. I have lived in San Dimas since 2016, and to tell you a little bit about the newspaper. So we are a local news organization that publishes stories both online at our website, which is sandimascommunitypost.com, and in print. We have a newspaper, which you can see right here. We print it quarterly. And our goal is to report on local issues that affect our community of San Dimas, California, including government, education, environment, and business topics, among others. Our mission is to provide important community news and information to help residents of San Dimas make informed decisions about issues that impact our community. And we really see this as an important mission. We believe in providing information to the community, being a resource for information, as well as promoting what San Dimas has to offer, the businesses, the stories, the people, just promoting San Dimas. And we do our best to provide fact-based, unbiased information. And if you've read some of our articles, we try to make sure that we have multiple perspectives represented as well. And so public service is a big part of what we do and what we believe that we're doing. We are 100% volunteer run at this time. We're made up of a team of about half journalists and half non-journalists. And the newspaper was started by a small group of local residents, all of us who live in San Dimas. And we started the newspaper in October of 2020 because we felt that there was a need to have local coverage of our community. You know, there's a lot of misinformation or gossip that you might hear on social media or out in the community, and we felt it was really important to have a source for factual information. You might have heard of the term news desert. So this is a phenomenon that's happening all across the country where communities don't have news coverage. These are areas that aren't serviced by any sort of news organization. And so we wanted to make sure that San Dimas didn't become that. You know, folks might say, well, we have the LA Times, we have the Tribune, the Daily Bulletin, but those are much larger organizations and they don't have the capacity to cover San Dimas. They don't know the ins and outs of what's happening here the way that those of us who are local and live here do. And so we launched it back in October with a GoFundMe. We're completely donation run, and we've grown to a group of about 30 people. Like I said, we're all volunteers. And what's really awesome about the newspaper is that we see this as an opportunity to teach people about journalism. We have a lot of students on our team who are from the University of Laverne or people in the community. Like I said, about half of our team is not journalists. So this is an opportunity to teach people about journalism. We offer internships for college students to hone their craft if they want to get into journalism as a paying profession later on. And we've also been in conversations with the school district to see how we can partner with the journalism classes as well. And we're open to collaborating with other volunteers and groups in the community. Let's see here. So some of the stories that we cover a wide range from breaking and hard news stories. For example, I believe we were the first news organization to report on a $900,000 claim against the city of San Dimas by the former Parks and Rec director, and then other larger news organizations picked that up after. We also cover business and culture features, which are just some of the fun stories around town. You can see here we have a picture of Mr. Black, who's a teacher at San Dimas High School, who's writing a book. We did a story about him. And we also have columns that are fun, opinion-based columns about wellness, fitness, gardening, life tips. And going back to why, being a public service, so we were, to my knowledge, the only news organization that covered the Bonita Unified School District race back in October. And, we believe this is important because, we as citizens need to know who's running for office, what do they stand for? And so we kind of compiled all of the candidates' answers into one readable format so that the community could be informed about who's running for the school district and so that people could make an informed decision about that. And we also do a lot to try to promote businesses in the community. We recently did a story about Linko Custom Framing that's been in San Dimas. It's like an institution in San Dimas. We've done a story on the different juice places, restaurants that have made it through COVID. And so that's just a little bit about the stories that we've tried to cover. And so if you couldn't tell, we're completely volunteer run. We run on a shoestring budget. And, I want to say thank you to if anyone on this call has already supported us. And if you haven't, but you like what we're doing, if you believe that sharing information and being transparent with the community is important, if you want to promote San Dimas, if you want to give opportunities to students and the community to learn about journalism and to be part of fact-based journalism, we'd love to have your support. There's ways that you you can support us financially through our Patreon membership or through PayPal. If you have a business, you're welcome to advertise with us. We do have advertising opportunities in the newspaper. So this is like a full page ad in our paper. And you can also follow us on social media, subscribe to our email to get updates and just share our news stories if you'd like to do that too. So thank you so much for the 5 minutes. I don't know how I'm doing on time, but if you'd like to contact us, you can reach us at inbox@sandimascommunitypost.com. Thank you.
Thank you, Isabel. That was awesome. Thank you so much. Well, just to move it along for time, Action 360.
Yeah, there's a couple of things going on we need to talk about very quickly. Making Spirits Bright is moving along. That is the program to provide 55 Marine Corps enlisted personnel with Christmas gifts for their families at 29 Palms. The next committee meeting is on June 9th. That's the evening of our club anniversary meeting. And so also related to that, I'll be presenting my budget, which I've shared with a few people, and I've included Making Spirits Bright as one of our major projects for next year. Last weekend, we went out to Crossroads in Pomona. That's the house we're going to rehab that houses formerly incarcerated women. Thank you, Marianne, for being there. And also Lauren was there. This weekend, myself and a couple of fellows from the lodge are going to actually go out and mow the lawn and use a metal detector to try to find the sprinkler system. But what we've done is Home Depot in Pomona is committed to assisting us with some of the materials, and also they have a crew apparently goes out and does this kind of thing. And we've decided that what we're going to do is the one rear lot, it's a large lot, it's a craftsman style home with two duplexes, or with a duplex on it. We're going to focus on the rear yard because they're going to have another fundraiser there where they're going to fundraise for the interior of the house and the exterior. So we'll be 2 weekends in August, the 1st and 2nd. So calendar those out. I'd like you to give me one day of those 4 days. And it'll basically be, we're going to plant a yard and we're going to paint and fix a fence. Lots of work. I'll have pictures for you the next time we do this so you know where we are, but it's a great project. They're very thankful. It's been a long time since I met people that were just this thankful for what we're helping them with to get this started. June 9th, our anniversary club meeting. The state senator will be here to present the resolution. The mayor will be here to present a proclamation of the city. We'll be reading the founding board members' names. And I've invited all of our speakers, past speakers, and community groups to come and give us 1 minute on what San Dimas Rotary has meant to them. So the June 9th meeting is our club anniversary, and it's shaping up to be very interesting, I think. And June 17th is the kickout party. And Diva, where are we going to kick you out at?
In San Dimas, we're going to go to Cendejas on the 17th at 6 p.m. So those that can make it, just let me know, shoot me an email so we can confirm the seating. And that's it. And we're going to also induct our 2 new members, and hopefully we can get a couple more so that we can induct at the same time.
Yeah, we're looking at it. So, and we're gonna, I think we're hurrying it along so we can get back to Guy and Isabel, people who have questions. So we're getting through our normal Rotary stuff, and we've missed the Fine Masters case. We're gonna skip it. The only thing I'm gonna say is I paid my entire year last week. Get your fine payments into Steve Scott as soon as you can so we can get the books balanced. You should see on the screen the calendar coming up. We've got a full calendar until September 15th of this year of great speakers, and it's a variety of projects like we've heard today, and also motivational stuff and authors, just a bunch of cool stuff going on here at the San Dimas Rotary.
Perfect. So shall we go with the 4-way test, or should we go with
4-way test and then questions? How's that sound,
yeah,
Mike?
I think that sounds great. Is Mike on the call?
He is.
I am. So once again, the Rotary 4-way test is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? Addressing anything that Rotarians think, say, and do. If it passes all 4 tests, you know that you're in the clear as far as acting in goodwill and doing the right thing. That's today's 4-way test.
Excellent. Hey, so I guess we're at questions, Diva?
Yes, question.
I have a question for Anita and Guy. Where are you based out of with your boat?
Well, we're based on the boat, so it depends on where the boat is. I don't mean to be flippant, but yeah, that's where it is. Our first order of business will be down in the island Ilavash, and Barbuda is the second location that will be conducted sort of concurrently. The regulatory process is long and involved. Getting the permits required takes time, but there's 8 other islands that are already permitted for us. So just expanding rapidly, going, full tilt boogie and letting it rip.
I have a
And
question.
forgive me, by the way, Diva, I went longer than I should have gone, and apologies to everybody there. So I'll go sit in a corner for a little bit.
It's okay. It was very interesting. But my question is, okay, so the whole excursion slash learning, where is that going to be hosted? Like, how can someone go and join if they wanted to plan an event and go?
So we believe the first place we will be is Ilavash, because they've been courting us for quite a while. So, and then Barbuda wants to start early next year. So those 2 will be posted on our website.
And we're going to be here's how we are operating. Anyone that's interested in being a participant in this actual, it's a week-long experience. And we're also learning if people want to learn to dive. So you can come a few days early. There's a dive shop that is connecting with us that will actually take you through the dive training. And then you come into the coral reef restoration with Sanacora. So it can be a week, it can be a couple of weeks, whatever your need is. But we will be posting all of our opportunities on our website, and then those individuals who have suggested they're interested in coming on one of our trips, we're going to be blasting out information as soon as it's time to sign up for the boat. Boom, you've got the information. So it'll all be, you can sign up or we will send information to you. But understand, we are excited because we are being courted by 2 islands, but we're going to be hitting many islands. So we're hoping in a couple of years we'd be able to say, here are all the islands that you can go. So that's the fun part, is building it.
Thank you.
And you don't have to be a great diver or even snorkeler. This is, I don't know if anybody's heard of snuba, but it's you actually just have a tube that comes right down, from the boat, and it's 20 to 30 feet, and you don't have to swim really well. You just need to float well.
May I ask a question?
Yes.
I'm curious to know, so I've never heard of the kind of rebuilding and growing the reefs. Are there a lot of other organizations that are doing this, or is this a pretty unique method of growing the reefs?
There's a lot going on all over the world, and everybody is doing it in some ways differently. The scientific community is not working in concert. It is personal opinion with one another to come up with something that works all the time everywhere. And that's a big job, obviously, because of the size of the world and the different environments in which you're operating. So it's a nascent industry. It's just started. Dave Vaughn, the one guy in the world who developed the way of propagating corals, is it's less than 8 years old. So it's really volunteers are involved, and scientific community, generally speaking.
We're just combining it with, hey, get away, have a great vacation, and do something good. And also for the younger generation, it will be not only just doing the coral reef restoration, but we're going to be including some leadership training and, some really cool activities, because the parents, we're identifying different things that parents are looking for the kids to do while they're there. So we'll be making it a more well-rounded experience for the young folks. But for the adults, you know, it's going to be fun, just fun and doing the right thing.
And it's a project worldwide that requires a huge population of people. So no limits, no protection in terms of competitive nature or anything like that. It's let the ropes off and let it ride and get everybody involved that can be involved.
The more the merrier. And if you're at all interested, Dr. David Vaughn, V-A-U-G-H-N, he has a TED Talk. And he's he's barefoot doing the TED Talk. He's the crazy, goofy professor kind of, you know, looking guy, but he's brilliant. And yeah, if you're into it. And there's another movie that we should mention, Chasing Coral.
Chasing Coral. Maybe some of you have seen that.
If you haven't, you might want to check it out. Chasing Coral is a great Netflix.
Diva, and we're proud to say that you might remember in the movie, there's an individual, Richard Beavers, who's sort of the centerpiece of the movie, who sits on our board of directors, and we're closely attached to them. And it's a good thing because they're great people.
Awesome. Thank you so much, guys. Anybody else? Any other questions?
I have one for Isabel. You're currently online and you're going quarterly. What's your vision for the future? Are you going to be a monthly, a weekly?
We would love to be able to publish more frequently. I mean, you know, there's always news going on. So yeah, we dream of doing a weekly, but you know, the main cost is printing. And so it costs a lot of money to print. And so if we had the budget for that, I think we would love to do that at some point. But right now I feel like we just launched, you know, we're running on donations, but yeah, that is a future dream.
It would be a great conversation to make a proposal, Isabel, to Raymond about his presidential year coming up and how the Rotary might sponsor 2 or 3 special editions.
Ooh, well, we'll chat about that further.
Tossing it out there.
So if I can get our speakers to just put their information on the chat box. So if just in case anybody wants to, you know, get further information, that'd be great.
Isabel, good luck to you with what you're doing. It's exciting to be doing something like that.
Thank you. Yeah, and likewise, I'm like, how can I sign up? Do you have babysitters on your boats? Because my kids are little.
We do now.
Well, I want to thank everybody for joining us today. Did you have a question, Mike? Oh, okay. Saw your hand go up. Okay, well, thank you so much, everybody. If you want more information, you know,